Hey guys, what's going on? It's Brian, also known as OCD Mindful, back with another video today specifically for my HOCD people. And the topic, surprisingly one that hasn't come up yet, is all about porn. Should I watch porn? Should I not watch porn? Is porn having some sort of negative effect on my OCD? And the truth is, guys, this isn't a one-size-fits-all answer. In fact, I had two people just this past week who the answer to this question was completely different because they were using it in very different ways. So, look, as a general rule of thumb, you always want to ask yourself the question, am I the boss of my OCD, or is the OCD the boss of me? If it feels like you're doing something because your OCD is compelling you to do it, forcing you to do it, driving you to do it, generally, the opposite of that is going to be the right move. Okay, not always. It's good to be savvy about how to sort of navigate a minefield like OCD. But let me just give you an example. Person number one was very much using porn in a ritualistic fashion by watching it like a lot of us do and trying to analyze and figure out what they liked and what they didn't like. They would go as far as, which we've probably all done, which before I knew I had OCD, I was doing this all the time. I was trying to check my arousal levels to girl on girl porn and guy on guy porn. And if, I got aroused quickly to two females, my God, what a successful ritual that was. That became my ultimate ritual for figuring out. And then to take it, even a step further, there were times when I would watch gay porn and check my arousal too. And if I didn't get aroused, well, then that really served as, you could call it an effective ritual, even though no ritual is actually effective in the long term. It was effective in the short term. And so person number one was watching porn in this manner. They were watching it to try to figure out. In a case like that, the general rule would be, well, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, we're not trying to figure out. So if you can't watch porn without your OCD chiming in and saying we're going to analyze this, then it might be a good idea for you to not even watch porn in the first place. Or at the very least, watch porn that's completely ambiguous. One guy, one girl, or guy and girl, no matter what the situation is, and just really try your best not to analyze what's doing what for you. If you feel like you need to watch porn and get your rocks off, that's fine. I think that's relatively healthy. I am definitely not going to say no one should ever watch porn anymore. There are people that swear by the whole no FAP movement. They give up watching porn, they give up masturbating, and they say it makes a tremendous difference. You can try that. I would just say if you're trying to avoid porn, this brings me to person number two before I make that point. Person number two was avoiding porn because watching porn would create the OCD thought and would oftentimes create the OCD spike. So now this person was letting OCD be the boss of them by avoiding porn in the first place. Okay, so you see how these are really it's two polar opposites, two different people. The answer for that question was different for both of them. So person number one was using porn to try to figure out. Person number two was avoiding porn to be reminded of their OCD. So they weren't reminded of their OCD. Okay, so again, you ask yourself the question, is my OCD being the boss of what my actions, my behaviors are? Or am I being the boss of my OCD and saying, hey, I'm going to override the thing that you're telling me to do? Now, there's all kinds of little ways you can navigate and avoid those pitfalls. So when this became an issue for me, I stopped completely watching girl on girl porn. I stopped watching the thing that was my most obvious ritual. I gave that up. And usually if I really felt like I needed to watch porn, I would just watch straight porn, guys and girls, or guy, girl. Wouldn't try to analyze what it was that was doing anything for me. And when I finally decided to go all in on my exposures, I masturbated, as I said, as bizarre as it is to admit this and put it out for the public to consume, I masturbated to gay porn. This way, I was showing my brain not only do we have to avoid, an image of two men or sex between men, but I was intentionally going out and exposing myself to it. I was seeking it out. And I believe this had a very powerful impact on my brain going, hey, OCD, you have nowhere to hide now. Like, we just did the thing that we were really afraid to do. And the reason this was effective was because it didn't give the OCD any place to potentially hide. Okay? People often say, like, well, why would you have to masturbate to it? Again, this was for me. This answer might be different for different people, but for me, if I just watched gay porn and I was aware of the fact that I was not having any arousal, that served as a ritual for me. Okay, so how do I eliminate the element of figuring out? How do I make this really ambiguous, or even to make the exposure more effective? How do I make it more certain, if you will? Nudge myself in the direction that my fear, the thing that I fear, is actually true. That's an effective exposure, and therefore, I masturbated to it. I gave it no place to hide. At the end of the exposure, I had to sit with the reality that A, I was aroused by doing it. I don't know if me just touching myself physically while watching it is what got me aroused, or if I just got aroused without having to touch myself. Again, I couldn't answer these questions. This is what I wanted. So I had to sit with the reality that I just did it. I got aroused to it. I finished to it. And my brain was going, well, now there's truth to it. Like, this is more than just a wild OCD conspiracy in your mind. And then I would say to myself, yeah, that might be the reality. That might be the truth. I would sit with the discomfort. It almost always brought on some heavy emotion. Most of the time, it was the anxiety. Great, that's what I was going for. I allowed that to be there. I allowed myself to leave it unanswered. And almost all the time, again, it was just like the OCD didn't have anywhere to hide. And so within a couple hours usually, sometimes even less, within a half hour or an hour, even though I knew I just did it, I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. It was seriously like my OCD had vanished. Okay, now this is another important caveat here to make though. That's not what I was going for. We're not trying to make the feeling go away. So just because it happened to, maybe after 30 minutes or an hour, I wasn't thinking about it anymore, I didn't start masturbating to gay porn with that goal in mind. Because guess what? Now I've just created another ritual. Oh, I'm going to do this thing because now I know if I do it, the feeling that I really hate feeling gets to go away and I don't have to deal with it anymore. No, I wouldn't lean on that as my reasoning for it. Instead, it was, hey, I did the thing that I'm afraid of. It seems more true now, and I just didn't care as much. That's it. I mean, that habituation process definitely felt like it worked. Okay, so for you, again, ask yourself the question, is my OCD in charge, or am I in charge? Am I the boss of my OCD? If you really feel like you're a person that's benefits from, masturbating every now and again and watching porn, I would say it's a smart idea to just watch ambiguous porn. Guy, girl, can't figure out what it is that's doing it for you. If you wanted to do an exposure, expose yourself to your hardcore fears, you could try to do what I did. You could try to masturbate to gay porn without analyzing it, having to live with the knowledge that you just did that thing. If there's anything to avoid, it would be avoid looking at porn as a ritual. Okay? So, I hope that helps you guys. I don't think that that's a very complicated thing. But anytime you are stuck in a situation where you're going, I don't know what the best route is for treatment, ask yourself that question. Am I avoiding something because of my OCD? Is my OCD making me do something? All right. Feel free to shoot me any questions, you guys. Again, if you're interested, I do work with people one-on-one. You can shoot me a message at ocdmindful@gmail.com. And I hope everyone's doing well, and we'll catch up with you soon. Okay, thanks.